Last week, I watched two men walk into my clinic on the same day, same age, both 63. The first man came in slowly. He gripped the doorframe to steady himself. He lowered himself into the chair carefully, like he was bracing for his own body to give out on him. When I asked how he was doing, he said, "Dr. Morgan, I'm just getting old." The second man walked in, like he owned the place. No hesitation. He sat down with ease. His eyes were sharp, alert. His grip was firm when we shook hands. When I asked how he was doing, he looked me straight in the eye, smiled, and said, "I'm just getting started." Same age, completely different men. And the difference between them had nothing to do with luck, nothing to do with genetics, nothing to do with money or circumstance. It came down to 7 specific abilities, 7 things one man could still do, and the other had quietly stopped doing years ago. If you can still do these 7 things, you are not just surviving your 60s, you are dominating them. Here is what most men over 60 have been told, directly or indirectly, by the world around them. That decline is inevitable. That weakness is just what happens. That the best years are behind them, and the only job left is to manage the fall gracefully, to go quietly into whatever comes next. I am here to tell you that is one of the most dangerous lies a man can believe, and I have seen that lie destroy men who had every reason to keep going. My name is Dr. Daniel Morgan. I have spent over 12 years working with men over 60 in clinical practice, in the office, at the bedside, and in the hard conversations most doctors avoid. What I have seen, over and over again, without exception, is this: age does not weaken men. Stopping does. So let us find out exactly where you stand right now. Today, I am going to walk you through 7 abilities, 7 specific tests of where your body and your mind actually are, not where you assume they are, not where you hope they are, where they actually are. As I go through each one, I want you to be completely honest with yourself, not because this is about judgment, but because awareness, real, honest, unflinching awareness, is always the first move. It is how you protect what you still have, and how you rebuild what you have quietly lost. And here is the most important thing I need you to understand before we begin. Every single one of these abilities is trainable. At 60, at 70, at 80. None of them are fixed. None of them are locked in place by your age or your history. All of them are within your control. That is not optimism. That is physiology. Let us begin. Marker number 1, the rising test. Your functional strength. Can you get up off the floor without using your hands? Not slowly, not using a chair, not rolling to the side and pushing yourself up with both arms. Straight up from sitting on the floor using your legs alone. I want you to try it right now if you can. No one is watching, just you and the honest answer. Because if you can do this easily, without hesitation, without grabbing anything, you are already ahead of more than 65% of men your age. And I say that not to flatter you, but because that number should tell you something about how far the standard has fallen. This is not a party trick. Researchers in Brazil tracked over 2,000 men and women and found that the ability to rise from the floor without support is one of the single strongest predictors of how long a man will live. Not how far he can run, not how much he can deadlift. This one movement, this one fundamental act of getting yourself up off the ground. Why does it matter so much? Because it does not test one thing. It tests everything at once: leg strength, hip mobility, core stability, and balance, all working together in real time. It reveals your total functional reserve. That is the engine your body uses to keep you independent, active, and alive. And when that engine starts to stall, everything else follows. In 12 years of clinical practice, I have seen this test reveal more about a man's true health than almost any lab panel I have ever ordered. It cuts through the noise. It tells you the truth about where you stand. If you struggled just now, do not panic. That is not what this is about. Start sitting on the floor every single day, not on the couch, not on the bed, the floor. Give your body a reason to remember what it already knows how to do. It will come back faster than you think. Marker number 2, the walking test. Your heart and joint vitality. Can you still walk for 30 minutes without your joints stopping you? Not running, not hiking a steep trail. Walking 30 continuous minutes. No stopping because your knees gave out. No sitting down because your hips locked up. No breathlessness that forces you to the nearest bench. If you can walk for 30 minutes and feel capable, not destroyed, not in pain, but capable, at the end of it, your cardiovascular system and your musculoskeletal system are still talking to each other the way they are supposed to. That matters more than almost any other marker I will share with you today, because walking is not exercise. Walking is the foundation of independence. It determines whether you can travel, whether you can visit your grandchildren without counting your steps or rationing your energy, whether you can move through the world on your own terms, under your own power, without needing to ask for help. I have sat across from men in my clinic who told me they stopped walking regularly because their joints hurt a little. They made a reasonable-sounding decision. 5 years later, they could barely walk to the end of their driveway. And here is the hard truth I have to share with men in that situation. The joint did not destroy the walking. Stopping the walking destroyed the joint. Movement is not the enemy of aging joints. Stillness is. Men who can walk freely live freely. That connection is direct, and it is not metaphorical. If 30 minutes is too much right now, start with 10. Add 2 minutes every week. Commit to it the way you would commit to any serious obligation, because this is serious. Your body will adapt faster than you expect, because it was built for exactly this. Marker number 3, the wanting test. Your sense of purpose. Can you still wake up most mornings wanting something? Not every morning. Life is not a highlight reel. Not perfect mornings with perfect motivation. Most mornings, a project you are working on, a person you want to see, a problem you want to solve, a place you intend to go, something that pulls you forward with a sense of direction, rather than just pushing you out of bed out of obligation or habit. This is the marker most men never expect to see on a list like this. But I am putting it here because in 12 years of clinical work, I have watched the loss of purpose kill men faster than almost any disease on my charts. That is not a figure of speech. That is what I have witnessed. When a man loses his sense of wanting, when every morning feels flat, when there is no pull, when the days blur together without meaning, the body follows. Cortisol rises, testosterone drops, the immune system weakens, cardiovascular health deteriorates. The body receives the signal, and the signal it receives is, we are finished. There is nothing left worth fighting for. But when a man wakes up with something to move toward, every biological system in his body gets a different signal. Keep going. Stay sharp. We are not done yet. Purpose is not a soft idea. It is a physiological force. If you have lost your sense of wanting, do not wait for it to return on its own. It will not. Start small. Deliberately, find one thing this week. One thing that interests you, challenges you, or connects you to someone else. A project. A book you have been meaning to read. A skill you abandoned years ago. Wanting is a muscle. If you have not used it in a while, it has weakened. But it can be trained back. Start using it. Before I go further, where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. I am Dr. Daniel Morgan, and I read every single one. Now let us keep going. Marker number 4, the grip test. Your physical power. Can you still carry your own groceries with both arms and not feel it for 3 days? 2 full bags, 1 in each hand, up the stairs and into the kitchen. If you can do that without your arms shaking, without your lower back seizing, without needing to sit down and recover immediately after, your grip strength, your shoulder stability, and your posterior chain are still operating at a level that a large number of men your age have already lost. And most of them did not notice it happening. Grip strength is one of the most thoroughly studied markers in the entire science of aging. Decades of research across multiple populations have confirmed the same finding. The strength of a man's hand grip predicts his risk of heart attack, his rate of cognitive decline, his risk of serious disability, and his overall lifespan, sometimes more accurately than his blood pressure readings. That is not a minor result. That is a profound one. I have seen it bear out in my own patients, year after year. The men with strong hands are almost always the men who are still living independently, still driving themselves, still doing things for other people instead of being the one who needs things done for them. There is a dignity in that, and it is directly connected to grip strength more than most men realize. Strong hands tell a larger story. They indicate strong muscles throughout the kinetic chain, strong connective tissue, and a nervous system that is still firing efficiently. Grip does not lie. It cannot. If your grip has weakened, the fix is straightforward and it starts today. Squeeze a rubber ball, use a hand gripper, roll up a towel and wring it out. 2 focused minutes a day, the speed at which grip strength responds to consistent training will genuinely surprise you. The body wants to recover. Give it the right signal. Marker number 5, the memory test. Your brain sharpness. Can you still remember the name of someone you met last week? Not a lifelong friend. Not your neighbor of 20 years. Someone you met once, 7 days ago. Can you bring their name back without someone prompting you? Without digging through your phone? Without guessing? If you can, your hippocampus, the brain's primary center for memory formation and retrieval, is still building and accessing new neural connections the way it should be. You are still capable of learning, still capable of being fully present in a new conversation, rather than nodding along and pretending to follow. Most men accept memory fog as an unavoidable feature of aging. As a physician who has spent more than a decade studying this, I want to be direct with you. It is not inevitable. Forgetting names, misplacing things habitually, living in a mental haze that feels like it is slowly thickening, these are symptoms. They are not sentences. They are signals that your brain is not receiving what it needs. Adequate blood flow, quality sleep, consistent mental stimulation, and genuine challenge. I have watched men in my practice recover mental sharpness they were certain was gone forever. Not through expensive supplements or complicated protocols, but by moving their bodies consistently, fixing their sleep, and giving their brain something worth engaging with. The brain responds to input. What you do with your days shapes the structure of your mind. The fastest way to protect your memory costs nothing. Move your body every day. Even a 20-minute walk increases cerebral blood flow significantly. Learn one genuinely new thing every week. Have real conversations with real people about things that actually matter to you. Challenge your assumptions. Read something difficult. Your brain remains plastic at 60, at 70, and beyond. It changes in response to what you ask of it. Treat it like something you intend to keep, because you do. Marker number 6, the composure test. Your emotional strength. Can you still have a difficult conversation without shutting down or exploding? Someone challenges you, disagrees with you directly, disappoints you, tells you something you do not want to hear. Can you stay in the room? Can you listen without going cold? Can you speak without going nuclear? Can you hold yourself together when the pressure is real and the stakes matter? This is emotional regulation, and I will tell you plainly, it is one of the most underrated markers of a strong, healthy man over 60. Not because it is about being soft or easy to get along with, but because emotional dysregulation has a direct, measurable, damaging effect on the body. Chronic emotional suppression, decades of swallowing frustration, grief, anger, and disappointment, raises cortisol levels, damages arterial walls, disrupts sleep architecture, and accelerates cognitive decline. This is not philosophy. This is physiology. I have had men come into my clinic complaining of chest tightness, elevated blood pressure, and chronic insomnia. And when we sat down and actually talked, not ran tests, not ordered imaging, but talked, the real driver was 30 or 40 years of emotions that had never found an outlet, never been processed, never been acknowledged. The body was carrying what the mind refused to look at, and eventually the body sends the bill. But a man who can sit in discomfort without running from it or detonating, a man who can hear hard things and respond with measured clarity, that man has built something most men never develop, emotional strength. And it is a genuine predictor of how long and how well he will live. If this is your weak point, start with something deceptively simple. The next time you feel a reactive charge building, breathe before you speak. 4 seconds in, 4 seconds out. 1 cycle before you open your mouth. It sounds almost too small to matter. The physiological effect is not small. It interrupts the cortisol spike. It gives the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reason and judgment, a window to come back online before your mouth makes a decision your mind will regret. Practice it. Consistently, it compounds over time, the same way every other form of training does. Marker number 7, the presence test. your vitality and impact. Can you still make other people feel better just by being in the room? This is the last marker, and I want you to sit with it for a moment before you answer quickly. I am not asking whether you are the loudest voice in the room. I am not asking if people always agree with you or look to you for answers. I am asking something more specific and more demanding than that. When you walk into a room, a family gathering, a meeting, a dinner table, do people around you feel the steadiness of your presence? Do they feel like they can settle, like there is someone there who will not be rattled, who is genuinely paying attention? Who has something real to offer? Or do you move through rooms like a ghost, or worse, like a storm that unsettles everything it touches? In my clinical experience, this marker is the convergence point of everything that came before it. When a man has functional strength, he moves with confidence. When he has cardiovascular vitality, he has the energy to be fully present. When he has purpose, he has something worth saying. When his grip is strong, when his mind is sharp, when his emotions are regulated, all of that translates into a quality of presence that other people actually feel. They feel it without being able to name it. It is not charisma in the performance sense. It is something older and more earned than that. It is the gravity of a man who has kept himself together, mind, body, and character, through the years that most men let slip. I have known men in their late 60s and 70s who commanded a room not by speaking loudly, but simply by being there and being intact. Their stillness had weight. Their attention was a gift. Their presence said, without a word, I am still here. I am still in this. I am not finished. That is what a fully functioning man over 60 looks like. Not someone who has preserved his youth, but someone who has developed his strength. All of it, with the same seriousness and consistency he brought to the best chapters of his working life. Where do you stand? Let me be clear with you about something, man to man, before I close. These 7 markers are not a scorecard designed to make you feel behind. They are a map. They show you where you are, which means they show you where to go. And I have watched enough men walk through my door, men who had stopped, who had accepted the slow surrender, to know that the man who chooses to reverse course still can. The biology supports it. The research confirms it. I have seen it happen too many times to believe otherwise. The man in my clinic who said he was just getting started at 63 was not lucky. He was not gifted with superior genetics. He had simply refused to stop. He had kept asking things of his body and his mind every single day, and his body and mind had kept answering. That is the whole story. That is the only secret. You do not need a perfect plan. You do not need a perfect starting point. You need to pick one of these 7 markers, the one that is weakest right now, today, and do one thing about it this week. 1. Not everything at once. 1 deliberate action in the right direction. Because momentum is built exactly that way. 1 honest choice at a time. The first man who walked into my clinic that day, the one who said he was just getting old, he could still choose differently. That is what I told him when he stood up to leave. I looked at him and said, the only difference between you and the man who just left is what you decide to do tomorrow morning. He nodded slowly. He came back the following week with different posture. That is how it starts. My name is Dr. Daniel Morgan. If this reached you today, share it with a man who needs to hear it. Drop your city in the comments so I know where you are watching from. And if you want to go deeper on any of these 7 markers, the next step is right there for you. The best years of a man's life are not behind him. They are built, day by day, marker by marker, choice by choice. Let's get to work.